Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. This is Flosstube number 105 and today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. We'll see if this actually gets uploaded today. I think it might because I think this is going to be a short one. Short for me. You already know. You've already seen the timestamp. But I spent the last few weeks, because let me see, my last video was, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. And I've spent most of that time devoted to like 2 or 3 projects. So I don't have a ton of stitching to show, but and I don't have a lot of haul or book talk. So I think this will be a short one. We'll see. First things first, before I show you all the things I've been working on, I want to show you a new pattern from Hemlock Rye Stitchery. So that's my design brand. Hemlock Rye Stitchery is found on the website Gumroad, and I'll link this down below. And Gumroad allows a feature where you can pay what you want for a pattern. So you, as the designer, I can set like a minimum and then you can pay that or more. Or I can set no minimum, so basically it's free, or you can pay. My reproduction samplers, I do put an actual price on those just because I've invested money into acquiring those samplers and I'm trying to, get some of that back. But for my original patterns, those are always free or pay what you want. And this is an original design. So like I said, I'm going to link this down below. So if you're interested, you can go grab that. But let me show you because I'm really excited about this. So it was almost 2 years ago now, I released a little pattern around Christmas called Little Women. And it was a little, I'll put a picture in if I remember when I'm editing. It was just a quick little holiday pattern that featured the sisters, the March sisters from Little Women. And the style of doing like Megan, Joe, and Beth and Amy, that was like a graphic style that I had seen on, actually I'd seen it on a t-shirt from Anthony on Queer Eye, not of the March sisters. It was of, I think it was the characters from A Little Life that I saw, which is a book. But anyway, I loved that style. So I was inspired to do the March sisters from Little Women because it was Christmas time. That's my favorite Christmas movie. It's not really a Christmas movie, but it feels like a Christmas movie to me. And I always, at the time, I always intended to do a few more. Specifically intended to do the Bennett Sisters from Pride and Prejudice. But I have a couple other ideas too. But then I kind of like just never did it. So recently I was thinking about Pride and Prejudice and I was like, I need to do that pattern. So I did it. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it looks so adorable. So this is the Bennett Sisters by Hemlock Rye Stitchery. And this features the 5 Bennett sisters from Pride and Prejudice. Let me get my little board so I can hold this up a little easier. This is just a piece of quilt batting on a board and it just kind of holds things. It's really nice for floss too. So anyway, this is, so again, these are the Bennett sisters from Pride and Prejudice, Jane and Lizzie and Mary and Kitty and Lydia. And this is stitched with just 4 colors of DMC. It stitches up really quick. So a similar font to the Little Women pattern, but I tweaked it just a little bit and I'm a little happier with it. And then the border is the same but different colors. And I had to, tweak it to make it fit differently. But this is stitched just with a few colors of DMC, and it's stitched on 40 count linen from Fox and Rabbit in the color Flannel Flower, which, as you can probably see, is just a gorgeous, gorgeous linen. It's neutral, but it has a couple of like grayish splotches, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. I have an upcoming sampler reproduction that I'm definitely going to be putting on Flannel Flower. it was just so beautiful to stitch on, and I love the effect. So anyway, this is the pattern. Really quick, I think it took me 2 days to stitch, and I'm just really happy with how it came out. And I was debating, like, I wanted to finish it as a bookmark. It would be cute as an ornament, and it'd be really cute as a pillow. So my friend Bridget, the museum stitcher, actually went ahead and I sent her the pattern early, and she stitched it up really quickly as well. And she finished it as a little pillow, which I'll insert. And it's so cute. It looks so great that way. And she used just colors from Stash. Like she didn't grab the DMC. She used some color and cotton floss. But this is a fun pattern also to use like random floss from your stash, because you can really do it in any color that suits you. But anyway, I was debating how to finish it, and I was thinking a bookmark, but then I wasn't sure. And then I had this thought, like, wouldn't it be kind of cute with a hem stitch, which I've never done but had seen before. So I finished this with a hem stitch. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not really well done hem stitching on my part. And that is because I did my margin like a little too small. I forgot you have to double fold it, and I cut it for like one fold, and then realized, oh crap, I gotta fold this again. And so I left myself very little wiggle room there, and it was just really tough to stitch that small. But I also think it's kind of gives it some charm. Like it does look worn and used and displayed, which is also the linen. The linen helps with that as well. But the back is unfinished for now. I don't know, I might just put like a thin piece of fabric over that. But yeah, I did the hem stitch, and I'm now excited to try the hem stitch again on like a bigger piece and give myself more margin and do it the right way, because it's really a fun finishing technique. Now, I would recommend, I know there's several hem stitch tutorials out there, but I want to recommend one that I used, which was Susan Stanley from A Stitch in Time. Her tutorial is so good. Any like imperfection or fault on this is my fault, not hers. Like, her tutorial was wonderful. I messed up because I watched it once and was like, got it, and I just like went off, and I probably should have watched it again as I was doing it. But that is not her fault. Her tutorial is very good. So please, I'm going to link that below. Go check that out. So again, it's not perfect, which you probably can't tell in the camera, but if you look close, it's not perfect. But I think it does kind of fit with like the charm of this looking like an old, like antique piece of cloth. So love it. So excited. So happy about this. This is the Bennett Sisters. If you're a Pride and Prejudice fan and you would like to stitch this pattern, it will be linked down below on my Gumroad. Just head over there and grab it. And like I said, really quick stitch. So I had another finish before that. I finished, so I talked about, I think in my last video, I talked about I'm on like a mission to finish 40 old whips this year. Not just 40 things, but 40 whips. So for example, the Bennett Sisters does not count towards my 40 because I started and finished that this year. So to count towards the 40, it has to be things I started before 2023. So I was looking through my stuff trying to see like what's close to a finish. What can I finish? And I have several things, but this was the first one I grabbed. So I grabbed Bendy Stitchy 1844 Lady Man. And I think I showed this as a whip in my last video, but I went ahead and did get it finished. So I used all the called for DMC. This is just DMC. And to me, it looked perfect, so I wasn't going to mess with that perfection. Mine is stitched on a mystery linen. It's a 32 count, but that's all I know about it. It was actually, I think it if I remember right, Genevieve, Jasmine Custom Bags, she had sent me a bag, and she threw in like some scrap linen, in the package, and this was in there. So I don't know what the color is, but it's really pretty. But it's a 32 count, and you can see it's kind of lightly modeled, but this is stitched with the DMC, and I didn't change a thing, and I love it. It's perfect. So I need to find a frame for this. Oh, I know. I was like, was there anything I needed to say about this? I do want to point out, I did stitch his face. It is, that color of DMC is like exactly the color of my fabric. So it looks like he doesn't have a face, but he does. It's there. It's actually over one stitching, which again, it's really funny because it's exactly the color of my fabric, but I did stitch it. So that was my finish. I think now I'm at, I think I finished 5 of my 40 for the year. I was trying to get like a head start, because I know that some are going to take me a while and I'm going to fall behind. So I wanted to kind of like start strong. But my goal is if I can finish like 3 to 4 a month, I should be able to get there. What else did I work on? Oh, okay. So what I've mostly been stitching on was my birthday start. So my birthday was on January 29th. And I showed in my last video that I wanted to start this pattern called Mother Nature Winter. And this is by Stitchora. And this is actually found in this issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. This is the February 2023 issue. And when I saw this, I just like fell in love with this. So I decided this would be my birthday start, and I was having such a good time stitching it, and I was like so determined to get good progress on this that I ended up stitching on it for probably longer than, you know, I had meant to. This is stitched with all the called for DMC floss, but this is on a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. And I got so much done. I got basically like the entire bottom of the skirt, which is the bulk of the pattern. So I have to fill in some here, and then I just have to do her upper body, which is much smaller than her top. So I think when I looked, it was like less than 1,500 stitches left. But this took a long time because this pattern, so you can see it's absolutely stunning, but this pattern is just full of confetti. Even where it doesn't look like it is. Like on the mountains, it looks like just like, oh, there's some white there. No, that's like 6 different colors of pale lavender and pale blue and white. And, you know, it's just, it was so many colors and so much confetti. So you can't really like get a flow going because you have to like squint and count. And, not that I didn't enjoy it. It just took a long time. It took a long time, but I was into it. I did not enjoy the backstitch, but that's me. I don't love backstitch. And there is so much backstitch on this project, but I think I've gotten through the worst of it. So the hardest part were these trees right here. These were the worst confetti in the pattern. And then you had to do this backstitch, which was just, it was so hard. It was just so hard to find it. And, you know, when you're backstitching like a skirt, like an outline of a skirt, it's a lot easier to do that. When you're doing like a ton of tiny little backstitch on a confetti section, it's really hard to find your place and do it. But it's done, and I wanted to get it done because I felt like if I didn't, I might not ever come back and pick this up. So now I'm at a point where I would be excited to pick it up again because I know I've done the hardest stuff. It's over. So that was, I worked on that for at least a week, if not longer. And I think this is, yeah, so my last thing to show you is what will be my next finish of my 40. It is not done yet, but we're getting there. So again, I was trying to just find things that I thought were close to finished. And I had bought Peace, Love, and Purpose from Plum Street Samplers as a kit when it was exclusive to Country Sampler. It's now available where, you know, widely available, but I got it from Country Sampler as a kit. So it's it was kitted with the called for fabric and floss. And it is a small pattern, but there is a lot of stitching in there. And I am happy to say that I am closing in on a finish. So all I have left to do is the blue fill-in. Everything is done. All the other colors are done. All the stitching is done except for that fill-in, which of course I saved for last because then I don't even need to look at the pattern. I could be in the car and I can just do that blue fill-in and get that done. So there's not a lot of that left, but there's enough. I think it'll still be a couple days before I get this done. But that is Peace, Love, and Purpose. And I do think this is a fabulous pattern. And I think Paulette Stewart, the designer of Plum Street Samplers, is so fabulous. I love her. The title of this pattern drives me crazy. And this is just me because I need an Oxford comma in my life. And this does not have an Oxford comma. So it's Peace, comma, Love, and Purpose. And I just want one more comma in there. But that's me. And I've just had to accept it. I've had to accept it. It'll be okay. That's all my stitching. I told you I thought this would be quick, and I think it will. So I bought two things. So, you know, I've been so good about not buying stuff. I've been really, really good. Partly because I don't have anywhere to put it. And partly because I don't have an address to get things shipped to me. So I bought two PDFs. So the first one was my friend Marissa. She is Mkissa Creations on Etsy. And she came out with this pattern. It's inspired by Dirty Dancing. And it's called What's She Doing Here? And it's, I'm putting in a picture now. And it says, I carried a watermelon, which is the line that Baby says when she goes, in the movie, she goes to where the crew are like having an after party and they're dirty dancing. And she shows up and Johnny's like, what is she doing here? And she's like, I carried a watermelon. So iconic scene in that movie. And I just love that Marissa, I just love Marissa. I love like everything she designs. It's like, I think her and I are like on the same wavelength. We're the same age. We're elder millennials. Like the same things appeal to us. And we're like kindred spirits in that way. I think it came out really good. I actually love this pattern and I think I'll be starting it soon. I hope I'll be starting it soon. I've got a lot going on that I got to get done. So I'm really focused on finishes. But I do want to start the things, but we'll see. So the other pattern I bought that I also want to start right away is these 20 Stitches released a pattern called Let's Make a Statement. Of course, I'll be inserting a picture here. And I believe, oh my gosh, I don't have it in front of me because I don't have a printer. I think it says trans rights are more important than boy wizards. Something to that, if not that, something similar to that. And Dee released this pattern in response to the ongoing issue with the Harry Potter franchise and J.K. Rowling. So if you aren't aware, and I know some of you are probably sitting there going like, what's going on? There's been a well-documented history for over several years of J.K. Rowling making statements that are extremely harmful to trans people in particular. That's certainly not the only like foul thing she's done, but that's kind of the issue at hand right now. She is causing harm to trans people. Like that's just, it is what it is. If you want, I'll try to link something below that kind of lays out the argument, but she's done this through interviews, through tweets. Like, this is documented. It's not really up for debate, in my opinion. But people will do mental gymnastics and really try to talk around and justify why, like, what she's saying may, isn't that big of a deal, or people will try to come up with ways to justify continuing to support the Harry Potter franchise, which in turn lines the pockets of J.K. Rowling. So that's kind of the Cliff's Notes version. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to at this exact moment. But all that to say that there was a Harry Potter video game that just came out. I don't play video games, so like it wasn't even really on my radar, but I guess it was kind of a big deal. So, or, like a big release. And so again, like the discussion came up about, this person causes a lot of harm. Like, should we be supporting this franchise? Should we be supporting this product? And to me, that's a really easy answer. No, because like trans people matter more to me than like my feelings of nostalgia about movies I used to love and books I used to love. Like, it's a no-brainer for me. So this was Dee's statement. Let's make a statement that, like, their body and their rights should matter more than your feelings of nostalgia over a movie franchise. So I wholeheartedly agree. And also, I think it's a badass pattern. I think it's just a really, really nice looking pattern and should stitch up really quickly. And I'm excited about that. So you can go support Dee. I will link them down below. You can get that pattern for yourself if you'd like. We don't need to have a debate in the comments either about this. Like, if you feel very strongly differently than me, like, you're not going to change my mind on this. So don't waste your breath. All right. So that's all the stitching. So I just have a couple books to talk about, not very many. So if you don't care to hear about book talk, that's cool. You can leave now and you won't miss anything. All right. So a couple books. I'm actually, I'm surprised I haven't read more. I'm not in a reading slump. I'm still reading, but I'm not like cranking through books the way I usually do. But it ebbs and it flows. Like I'll be fine. I'll go through a phase where I just like tear through a bunch. So anyway, I finished my reread of the Ravenhood trilogy by Kate Stewart. This was a series that I read like a year or two ago. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and they're also usually like quite affordable if you don't have Kindle Unlimited. Like as ebooks, they're usually like $1.99. They're not too bad. But my sister had recommended this series to me, and I blew through it and absolutely loved it. And at some point, the audiobooks, like the Audible audiobooks, went on sale for really cheap. I think they were just a couple dollars. And so I went ahead and bought all three on audio while they were so cheap. And so for my reread, I decided to listen to them. And I actually really enjoyed the audiobooks for these. And I do recommend them. They use like a female and a male narrator, which is really nice. It's a nice listening experience. So this is a series that I believe it's better to go in not knowing a lot about. But I will say, I'll just give like just a little bit. It's a contemporary, like kind of dark, not dark. I wouldn't say it's a dark romance. No, it's not like a mafia kind of romance. But it's an angsty and very steamy romance series. And the less you know, the better, because kind of the whole plot of the first book is that the main character, Cecilia, doesn't know what's going on, and she's asking questions, and she's saying like, you know, what does that mean? Like, why would you do that? Why would you say that? And like not getting answers. Like a lot of the whole book is about her being kept in the dark. So if you are in the dark with her, it kind of creates, it just adds to the reading experience. One thing I just want to say though is there's no supernatural or magical element in this series. And I say that because when I was reading the first book and I went in blind and I knew nothing, and I was like, what is the secret? Like, what is it? And then I was like, are they werewolves? And so for like half the book, I was like, I think they're werewolves. Like, I think that's their big secret is they're werewolves, and they're gonna like, and then like, they're not, they're just normal people. Like, there is no supernatural element. So that's all I'll say, just so you're not sitting there like me, wondering if the secret is that they're werewolves. They're not. But I love it. It's one of those, like, it's a really angsty, like, cried several times during the second and third book, but there's a squirrel. I think there's a squirrel out there. Sorry. Cried several times, but you do, the author puts your heart back together. So like, it's that good pain for me. I love angst in a romance. So for me, it's good stuff. Okay. So then I read Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. This is the third book in the Dark Olympus series. The first one is Neon Gods, and the second one is Electric Idol. And then this is the third. And I've really loved this series. So this was a series I was hesitant to pick up. Like, it was super popular on Book Talk, and you know, I was seeing like Neon Gods everywhere. And I had read a book by Katie Robert before and been kind of just like underwhelmed about it. And so I was like, it's not even there's no way it's that good. Like, everybody's talking about it, whatever. It's not going to be that good. And I finally was like, fine, let me check it out. And I was surprisingly really enjoyed Neon Gods. It's not high quality literature, but it was really, really easy to read and really fun to read. So these are like super steamy, spicy romance. And they feature like a modern day Athens where people are like elected or born into the roles of like Zeus, Aphrodite, Ares, all the gods. And they have like different responsibilities in the city. Like Ares is the god of, like, he does security and defense for the city. So there's some like political machinations, but mostly it's just, you know, about people falling in love. So the third book I actually still really enjoyed. So all three I've liked a lot. I think some people didn't like, I feel like it was this one. Maybe it was the second book. There was one that people didn't love as much. Actually, maybe it was this one. I don't know. And probably what they didn't love is this book features a throuple. So you have polyamory and you have like bi men. And I think for some people that's not an experience they relate to. So they maybe don't love this one as much. The first two are just like a male female, like kind of traditional kind of relationship. And in this one, you have Achilles and Patroclus, who have been together for a while, and then they meet Helen, and it's a throuple. So, but I loved it, actually. I very much enjoyed this book. So, I recommend this series. The fourth one just came out. It's called Radiant Sin. I don't have it yet, but I will get it. Okay, so then I was bullied into reading It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. That's not true. It's a book I've wanted to read, of course, like forever. It's probably Colleen Hoover's most popular book, or one of her most popular books, and I've been making my way through all of her books. And I own a copy of It Ends With Us, but for some reason I left it in storage. I didn't bring it with me. I think I just needed a break from Colleen Hoover. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't. I've regretted that many times, like that I've wanted to read it. And I'm like, oh, it's in storage. I don't have it. So my friend Jenny, who, she doesn't Flosstube or anything, but we're just friends. We chat on Instagram like every day. And we read Ugly Love in November 9th and maybe another one by Colleen Hoover. I can't remember which one, but we like buddy read all sorts of books, but we particularly have buddy read those books. And she was like, I want to read It Ends With Us. And I was like, oh, I left it in storage. And so she actually, for my birthday, gifted me the audiobook of It Ends With Us. So we buddy read by listening to the book together. For what it's worth, also, like, Colleen Hoover books are really good on as audiobooks. Like, they're very easy to listen to and follow. So I've read a couple of hers that way, and they've been great. So anyway, It Ends With Us. We read it, and you know what? Colleen Hoover gets a lot of criticism and there's a lot of controversy around her. But damn it, I fall for it. Like, I can't put her books down. I think she does. I mean, I think she's a great writer in terms of like pacing and plot, and just compelling characters. So, people have a lot of issues with Colleen Hoover, and I think some of them are valid. She tends to write pretty toxic relationships, and what I take away from what she's writing usually is like, this is an example of what not to do, but sometimes she does put a romantic spin, or like her characters have a happily ever after, even with the toxicity. So there's definitely some questionable things happening. But this book, I don't want to spoil it, but I felt like this book she was showing you a toxic relationship, and it was definitely an example of like, this is not good. This is not what we want. She was not endorsing the toxicity. And so I think this book in particular gets a lot of flack that's maybe not deserved, because she's not, I don't know. I think she's not romanticizing it the way that maybe she's accused of. So anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I'm sorry. I am still trash for Colleen Hoover. A couple of people have asked me if I'm going to read It Starts With Us, which is like a prequel to this book. If you've read it, let me know, because I've heard it's not good. And I've heard it felt like a money grab and it was pretty lame. But if you've read it and thought it was worth it, let me know, because I'll pick it up if that's the case. So, okay. And the last book I read on Audible. So I had, Audible's been doing this thing, which is really nice. They've been kind of like giving out credits for different reasons. So with your Audible subscription, you get like 1 credit a month that you can use for a book, any book. But what they've been doing is like, I think in January, it was like, if you listen for at least 20 minutes a day for 5 days, you'll get a $5 credit. So they've been kind of doing like this new rewards program. And for whatever reason, I ended up with a $10 credit to Audible, and it was going to expire. So I went and looked for an audiobook that was around $10 so that I could use it. So I didn't, this was basically like free, because I hadn't done anything differently than I always do, which is just listen to Audible like every day. And I got $10. So I didn't have a lot of time to like go digging and find like the perfect book. So I kind of just went to like what was popular, and what popped up was a book I had been hearing so much about and that I had wanted to read, but wasn't like interested enough to spend a full credit on it. And the book is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And it was like $9.96 or something like that. So I had my $10 credit. It was perfect. So I grabbed this book. And I have heard nothing but like rave reviews about this book. I have not heard one bad thing about this book. And it was really just so, so good. So it's an autobiography or a memoir. Jeanette McCurdy was a Nickelodeon. Was it Nickelodeon or Disney? I think maybe it was Disney. She was a child actress. I didn't watch any of those shows. I was aged out of those. So she was on like iCarly and something else, like a spinoff of iCarly. And I was in college, I think, at that point. But anyway, even though I probably have never watched anything Jeanette McCurdy has been in, it was still like a completely compelling and interesting memoir. And basically it chronicles like her being pushed into child acting by her mother at a very young age, and living with a mother who was narcissistic and toxic, abusive, and what that did to her. And the beautiful thing about the memoir is you realize that she, you know, as it was happening, she didn't realize it was toxic or abusive. Like I think going in, I thought, of course, her mom did all this to her as a child. And then she realized, and then she, you know, got help and broke off the relationship. And I don't want to be like spoilery, but what you realize pretty early into the book is like, no, it took a long time for her to realize that what she went through was abuse and it was trauma. But it was really beautifully written. She says in the book, like, she's always wanted to be a writer. She didn't ever want to be an actress. She never liked acting. But she always wanted to do screenwriting. So I think that she has a really natural talent for that. But it's just like, it's very raw, unflinching. She has a super dry like delivery and sense of humor. Just, you know, the things she'll tell you what happened, and it's just so matter of fact. And like I said, unflinching. And as a listener, you're kind of going like, oh my God, like what? And she's just like, yep, that happened. So I think her style is maybe not for everyone, but again, I've only heard rave reviews about this book. So, it was just so good. And I definitely think for things like this, it's nice to do an audio. Like same with Prince Harry's Spare. Like it was just nice to read that with his voice. So this was a really, really good audiobook. Warnings, of course, for, you know, the horrific child abuse she suffered from her mother, and very graphic detailing of her eating disorders. And I mean graphic. So that was the other interesting thing, like that when I say like it's unflinching, like she gives you these details that just, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to share something like that. And she does it, and she's just so raw about it. And she doesn't like sugarcoat or skirt around things. So, you know, there are really graphic depictions of eating disorders, alcohol abuse, and, you know, the abuse from her mother. So, but it was so good. It was very good. And that's all the things I read. So that's it. That's all I've got. Hopefully this is a short one. Like I said, I felt like I could get a little more rambly about books this time because it wasn't going to be a crazy long video. So I'm always happy to chat about books with people, and I've actually made some good friends by doing that. So yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.